Hello, everyone. How y'all doing? How are you all doing? This is a super exciting event, and I want you to feel excitement and the energy that all these filmmakers have put into the last 15 weeks of making these documentaries. My name is Chad Johnston. I'm the CEO of Create TV San Jose, and this is our 5th annual DocuMentorMe screening, so I'm super excited for today's documentaries and discussions. For those of you that don't know, Create TV is San Jose's nonprofit community media center. So for 16 years, we've been using media and technology to help people tell their own stories and to use media as a tool for civic engagement and social change. So we offer educational opportunities for anyone to learn the art of storytelling, and then we provide the community with their own equipment, resources, mentoring, spaces like this on a pay-what-you-can basis, making it as accessible as possible for everyone to use. All of our classes, membership, are available to everyone in this room. So if you see these films and you're like, hey, I want to make my own thing, come on in, check us out. Every year we also help nonprofits and community groups produce media and tell stories about the work that they're doing in the community, and we do that all on a sliding scale as well. So no matter their budget size, they get a fundraising video or an annual appeal or whatever. And lastly, we catalyze community in this space. How many of you have been to Open San Jose before? A few of you, awesome. That's your first time here. Most of you, welcome. This is a new community center, sort of catalyzed by Create TV, but there's 8 nonprofits in total that help activate and curate this space. So Chopsticks Alley Art, Lead Filipino, the Latina Coalition of Silicon Valley, Mosaic America, NorCal Public Media, San Jose Spotlight, and Works San Jose. We all welcome you into this space and encourage you to use spaces like this for anything you need. Everything from a birthday party to a yoga class to a film screening, this space is yours. DocumentorMe is a program I'm particularly proud of. This is a program we started 5 years ago, really trying to shift our focus as an organization to helping the community tell stories rather than learning technical skills. So we understood there were a lot of stories out there that are right here in San Jose that corporate media and social media don't capture and don't cover. So we created this program to try and get those who have never been behind the camera or behind the computer or in front of the screen to center their voices and their lived experiences in stories that we don't hear about. Like, I remember several years ago, someone did a piece about the history of lowriding, and that had never been in San Jose, and that had never been in the media, right? But that little story, that little spark, man, the lowrider clubs are booked every day of the week now, right? They're in front of City Hall. So that's the idea, is to get these stories. And as much as these filmmakers, even if they don't go on to create media again, the power of learning to tell your own story and mastering a tool like media it's powerful. So all of you will walk out of here a totally different person, and every year we see those 10 people walk out, I don't know, a little bit more engaged in the world. So I'm excited. This is the first year I've had no interaction with y'all, barely any, so I'm like, I don't even know what these films are about. So I'm super excited to be here. I want to make sure to thank the staff, the interns, the volunteers that make this happen. There's people behind the scenes, behind the cameras. It's a lot of work for them, as well as the filmmakers, so if we could just give them all a hand. And finally, I have to thank the Silicon Valley Community Foundation for their continued support in funding this program. And if you're interested in funding programs like this, or anything we do at Create TV, there's QR codes everywhere, or you can see me and just hand me a bag of money. Kidding. All right, I thank you all for coming tonight. I'm going to pass the mic over to Abby. Abby is our education and community manager and helped lead this program.
Yes, hi everyone, I'm Abby. And as Chad said, I help run the program. I do a lot of the administrative and overseeing part of the job. I get to be bossy and tell people what to do. It's wonderful. But it's exciting to be able to support this program and these amazing filmmakers. We're gonna roll the films in just a moment. I do want to give you just a little heads up. The first 4 films each come with a content warning. They vary, and each one will have the specific content for you. But we wanted to stack them all together so that if you choose to remove yourself, you're able to just leave once and come back for the rest of the showing. And we have a door at the back of this room if you don't want to walk in front of the screen. So take care of yourselves while you're here. With that, I think that we're ready to see the amazing work that these filmmakers have done over the last 4 months.
There are some seats up here for people back. There's 3 over there. There's a couple over there. If you're next to an empty seat, raise your hand.
Thank you. Great. So let's take a minute and we'll see what everyone's done. The following documentary contains images of a Vietnamese re-education camp.
Standing here together, we remember the long journey that brought us to this shore. The ocean, it reminds us of the distance we travel, of everything we left behind.
My dad grew up in North Vietnam, in a small village where life was simple. He didn't have much, but he was happy. Everything he needed was around him: family, the land, and a strong sense of home.
In 1954, we faced a difficult decision. Staying would mean losing our freedom and everything we should cherish. So, with heavy heart but hopeful spirit, we left our home and head south, seeking safety and a chance for a new beginning.
In Saigon, South Vietnam, my dad studied and worked hard and eventually became a lieutenant governor in Bình Định province. Being a public servant wasn't about power, it was about helping his people thrive. He believed in the future he was building for our country in South Vietnam.
But every day, the shadow of war grew closer. No matter how hard we work, peace seemed further and further away. When Saigon fell, everything we had worked for came crashing down.
April 30th, 1975, known as Black Sunday. That day, the North Vietnamese army took over Saigon, forcing the U.S. to abandon its embassy and evacuate more than 7,000 U.S. citizens and South Vietnamese allies by helicopter. Vietnam had now fallen to communists. Those who couldn't get out had a difficult decision: stay and live under a communist regime or risk everything and try to escape.
At the end of the war, 10,000 men who served the losing South Vietnamese government were locked up.
Years of breaking stones and enduring inhuman conditions under the burning sun were meant to break a man's spirit. But my dad refused to let them break him. He thought of his family every day, and that gave him the strength to survive. After his release, we knew we couldn't stay in Vietnam, so we gathered our courage and boarded a small, rickety boat carrying 81 souls, each of us praying it would carry us to freedom. It was terrifying, but we believed in the possibility of a new life.
After months in refugee camp from Malaysia to the Philippines, we finally arrived in America. Life was hard, but we were free. That was enough. We worked hard every day, building a life from scratch, determined to make something better for our children. Your mother and I give everything we had to see our family thrive.
Adieu foulard, adieu madras, adieu grandeur.
Our story is not just
Adieu collier
our own. It is a story of countless immigrants who left everything behind in search of freedom. We are part of this country's fabric, building it with our dreams and determination. I'm proud of what we have built here. I'm proud that we survived and found freedom.
qui parti. Hélas, hélas, c'est pour toujours. Bâtiment-là qui dans la rade là prend de moi maneli allez tout doux à moi qui parti. Hélas, hélas, c'est pour toujours doudou à moi qui parti. Hélas, hélas, c'est pour toujours.
The following documentary contains content related to grief, drug use, murder, and suicide.
I mean, drugs, alcohol, like, they numb the pain at the moment, but the thing is, after a while, you need them to numb the pain, and then you kind of get sad because you need the drugs, alcohol to numb the pain, and you feel like shit about yourself.
Grief is deeply personal, often arriving unexpectedly, and leaving us completely shattered and struggling to regain stability or function as we once did. It's a dark, lonely weight that gnaws at the very threads holding us together, making the task of restructuring our thoughts and finding a path forward an exhausting and deeply transformative challenge.
Hi, my name is Jialu Streeter. I am the executive director of CEPR. That's the Stanford Institute for Economic Policy Research. So here I just want to share some of my research findings regarding homelessness. Our research shows there are basically two buckets of factors that can lead to homelessness. One bucket of factors are purely economic. So you can imagine like you lose a job, you got into, maybe you got injured and you have disability. And so those economic factors can prevent you from able to paying for your rent. And then maybe you got evicted and the next thing you know, you might be on the street. So that's the economic factors. And the second bucket of factors are more complex. So usually we see people who got into habits of drug addiction, or some of them are suffering from mental health issues. And then the mental health issues are really important because a lot of times if you are not seeking proper treatment and you just hoping it will go away, and then unfortunately a lot of times the mental health issues don't go away by themselves. Unfortunately in the US, if you are seeking private care for mental health treatment, it's extremely expensive. A lot of times insurance doesn't cover it. And a lot of times if you are suffering from some economic hardship already, you may not even have a private insurance. And so if you're seeking care on the private side, you have to pay out of pocket, which can be really expensive. And besides the costs, it's also very difficult for people to find therapists. And then combining the economic cost and the shortage of mental health counseling therapists, it becomes really challenging for individuals who are suffering from mental health issues to get proper care in a timely manner. So those are the two main buckets of factors that lead people into homelessness.
So basically, after my baby mama died, pretty much she's the only person, even after she broke up with me, she's the only person I could talk to actually give me hope that things have to be hopeful things. With her death, basically I have no hope that anything can get better. I started doing way more drugs than I did. Pretty much when I found out she died, I just got like 15 or 20 Xanax bars. I did those with a bunch of meth. It was interesting 2 days in Jacksonville, don't come out. But yeah, pretty much, after she died, like, I don't feel like hope. She's the person that made me feel like hopeful. But after her death, it's just like every day I think about her. And there's, she got me into Lana Del Rey. There's a Lana Del Rey song called Dark Paradise, which hits different now that my baby mom is dead. Yeah, I don't think it would be this bad. Like, I would be fucking injecting fucking meth into my veins if she would have died. The only thing about protecting her way, it's the only arm that I really kept straight because that's my daughter's name tattooed on me. I don't shoot there. I do shoot on the top of it, but yeah, I try to stay far away from that motherfucker. Death is a motherfucker, but fuck, the only way to avoid dying is never be alive.
Like their feelings and they don't want to go to therapy, but it's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. It's like just because we have that like machismo-ness, being masculine, but like that doesn't demasculine you as a man going to therapy. That helps out anybody, and that helped me out. That doesn't make you feel like less of a person, because like, I mean, it didn't heal me, but it gave me the tools to help me heal and find solitude. And that was better than just me not going to therapy. And I can see that because I know two family members of mine that they're not going to therapy or not, and it hasn't helped them out versus me. So I can see the difference of trial and error. But I knew that going to therapy, I had to do it because if I didn't, I probably wouldn't be here telling my stories.
Last year, my husband died, and this year, my boyfriend passed away. So I've been in it. I have met grief. I have met, identified, held hands with, argued with. I am pretty intimate with grief these days. My husband left home on one evening after work, and he drove himself across the San Francisco Bay and hanged himself in a hotel on the 5th floor. And they found his body the next day when I reported him missing.
The following documentary contains content of a serious car accident and medical procedures.
P. Appropriate PPE on. E. Safe environment, no hazards, seen as safe to enter. N. Number of patients that need medical assistance. M. MOI, NOI, mechanism of injury, nature of illness. A. Additional resources needed. N. Need for C-spine stabilization. Form general impression of the patient. Consciousness, breathing, skin appearance, check for bodily fluids, exsanguination. Introduce yourself, give patient name, consent, watch your position to patient, determine responsiveness level of consciousness. Check pupils, AFPO, alert, alert and oriented, place, time, event. Verbal, response to verbal only. Pain, response to pain only. You, unresponsive. Determine chief complaint, apparent life threats. If bleeding, exsanguination, altered or unconsciousness, then CAB, otherwise used ABC. X, exsanguination, bleeding out. Control bleeding, direct pressure, wound packing, tourniquet. Airway. A, open and assess airway, clear. Insert adjunct as needed. Stridor, drooling, gurgling, log roll, suction, snoring, responsive, reposition head. Breathing, B, assess breathing, assure adequate ventilation, check lung sounds. Start appropriate oxygen therapy, manage any injury which may compromise breathing, ventilation. Circulation, C, assess for and control major bleeding if present. Assess skin, skin color, temperature, or condition. Check pulse, bilateral, radial for conscious, or carotid for unconscious patient. Initiate shock management, position patient properly, conserve body heat. Expose, E, the patient. Perform rapid trauma assessment as needed if unconscious, altered, or language barrier. Medical tags, surgery scars. Find and treat life threats not initially found. Note additional illness and pertinent negatives. Track marks, rashes. Identifies patient priority and makes treatment transport decision. Update responding EMS units. Obtains baseline vitals, pulse, respiration, blood pressure, pupils, capillary refill. Consider OPQ-RST as it pertains to chief complaint, present illness. onset. P, provocation, palliation. Q, quality. R, radiation, region. S, severity. T, time. Consider pace of shortness of breath. SOB, present. P, provoking factors. A, associated pain. S, sputum, color, speech. T, time, temp, talking. E, exacerbation. Consider AE, IOU tips if altered. A, alcohol, airway. E, epilepsy. I, infection. O, overdose. U, underdose, uremia. T, trauma, head injury. I, insulin. P, poison, psychiatric. S, stroke, shock, seizure. Consider B, fast if suspected stroke. B, balance. E, eyes. F, facial droop. A, arm drift. S, speech. T, time. Collect patient sample history. Signs and symptoms, allergies, medications, past medical history, last oral intake. E, events leading up to this incident. Secondary assessment. Repeat vital signs, respiration, blood pupils, capillary refill.
The following documentary contains content regarding China's zero COVID quarantine policies.
I am speaking with Tong and Kun about their application for asylum. I wanted to learn why they fear returning to China. We conducted this interview in the local library. What happened in 2022 that made you risk your livelihood in China to the point where you had to seek asylum?
Well, before 2022, we were angry with Chinese government, but we didn't do anything. But in 2022, the strict zero COVID policy turned agony. Many people were hurt and died because of it.
We bring some pictures and videos to show you what happened in 2022. Throughout 2022, as other nations returned to normal life, the Chinese government intensified its draconian zero-COVID policy, transforming entire cities into open-air prisons. Millions found themselves confined within their homes, their doors sometimes literally sealed shut. Along elderly, slowly starved to death because of the food shortage. The people in medical emergencies were turned away from hospitals until they died just because they didn't have negative PCR tests. Officials from Guiyang City, obsessed with achieving zero cases, forced suspect COVID carriers onto a late-night bus. In the darkness, the bus plunged off a cliff, killing 27 innocent people. Their deaths not from COVID, but from the government's strict COVID policies.
In terms of why you're here seeking asylum, what happened to you that caused you to change your mind and come to the United States for asylum?
The incident at Sutong Bridge inspired me to act.
Was Professor Payne the only person that was involved in this protest on the bridge?
Yes, he was the only man on that bridge. He was so brave man.
When you saw the footage about this incident, what did you do?
I downloaded this poster with slogans and the PDF from the social media and sent it to Kun.
So you recorded the pictures and the videos, saved it on a PDF, and then send it to Kun.
Yeah.
And what did you do?
I felt encouraged, inspired. I think I have to do something. I want to spread this picture slogans to other people by airdrop on the subway.
So Kun, when you were on the subway and you shared these pictures with the passengers by airdrop,
yeah,
were you at all worried that maybe some passenger might, bring the iPhone to the police, and the police will, of course, will look at it and will not be happy with it, and then try to track it down?
I was worried about a little bit, but I was happy to do this. I was happy to share this picture slogans to other people and make them think much. And I also think airdrop is a safe way to do this. And then I was arrested. At 7 p.m., 7 to 10 police come to my companies and arrested me, and all of this happened in front of my colleagues. At the police station, I was interrogated for 48 hours by 10 to 20 police. During the interrogation, I was handcuffed with my hands behind my back. After the interrogations, I was put in the jail. In jail for 15 days. The camera was watching me the whole time. For 15 days, I watched TV that was Chinese propaganda.
How did the police ever find out it was you who was the person who dropped the pictures on the iPhones on the passengers in the subway?
When I sent some pictures and PDF files to other passengers, the airdrop will leave a hash number in that passenger's iPhone's system knock. Chinese police can got my email address and phone number by decrypting that hash number. Since Chinese government can see all Chinese users' iCloud data, so when they got my email address and phone number, that's easy for them.
So it seems that iCloud and AirDrop are not so secure in China.
Not secure.
Apple rolls out an update in November. Suddenly, and only within China, AirDrop is severely restrictive. No one knows who made the call, but Apple's AirDrop update has helped choke off the protests. It's time for Apple to come clean.
Quick, can you guess what percentage of the Bay Area attends church? I'll give you a hint. The answer is here. Time's up. Did you guess 3%? If so, you are correct. Although 49% of people in the Bay Area who identify with religion consider themselves to be Catholic or another denomination of Christianity, only 3% actually attend church. To me, this number seemed baffling, so I wanted to get the truth behind why this might be and if there's any hope for the church community in the Bay Area.
My name is Irvin Wilson. I'm 25 years old, and I've been coming to church pretty much my whole life. Both my parents are pastors, so yeah, ever since I was born, they've been doing the church thing, and yeah, so I grew up here. So within my church, I do sing on worship team. I've been singing worship since I was in 8th grade. I've also sang at a couple other churches in the Bay Area. And I also am the lead singer in a collective called Preparation Worship. We do festivals, and we go around the Bay Area, we do festivals and stuff, and we also host our own worship nights every couple months. Like with my parents, like I grew up coming to church, like since they were both pastors, like I didn't have a choice, like, you know what I'm saying? But I think what I've always like appreciated about my parents is that they've represented Jesus well to me. And so going to church, like when I was younger, like was never like a chore or something that I didn't like to do. I loved going to church with my parents, and even with my dad. Like we're together at one church now, but my dad, he used to pastor, he used to lead a bunch of other churches in the Bay Area, Mountain View, Ocean View in Monterey, East Palo Alto, Redwood City, cities like that, and then now here in San Jose. So we're all together now, but I always got like different styles of church. It was either staying here with my mom or going out to where my dad was speaking. Because Jesus was represented well in multiple facets of my life, I think that it did help, but I think I'm a firm believer that people are still imperfect. And I think that what actually helped was having my own relationship and knowing like who I was to God and who he was to me. Like having that solid outlook going into those spaces is what actually helped. Not a lot of people get that. Not, like a lot of people come from broken homes. Like some people go to churches and the community isn't that well, or it's too religious, or people don't represent Jesus the way they need to, that they should. Like, you know what I'm saying? I feel like if you don't get a good perspective on who Jesus is in the beginning, like you don't have it for yourself, and you're going into these spaces trying to figure out who Jesus is by how people are in the church, I think that could get dangerous, just because some people don't represent Jesus well at all. Some people, and we're imperfect, not like if you have like an immature understanding of like even like thoughts, emotions, and things like that, and like how people work, or being able to differentiate like Jesus as him being himself and like the people who represent him, it could get tricky. It is a little trickier just in today's society to find a organization as a whole, like, you know what I'm saying, that can develop, like, to do what you're asking. It's so tricky. It's so tricky because when it comes to like the initial love of God, I think you could find it, like, you know what I'm saying? But people are just so like skeptical. Like I said, like just like how I said before, like the church is like a hospital. So when you come in, you're getting the people that are broken. Like you're getting the people that like have like attitude problems and anger issues and things like that. Like, you know what I'm saying? And so it's really up to, I think that it's possible. It's really rare. It's really rare to find something that's real, authentic, like God-fearing, God-modeled community. It is rare. I think what I will say is, I will always be an advocate to like, hey, go to church. Like it's biblical. Like God always spoke positively about the community, like the communion of saints. Like just because church is whack, don't mean you shouldn't go. You know what I'm saying? Because the most important thing, and it's funny because we recite these verses, but like we fail to see the real importance. Like Jesus taught, like he said, ask and you shall receive, seek and you shall find, knock and the door will be open. Like it was because you brought it upon yourself to be like, okay, I'm actually gonna find truth. That's what people be missing the whole point. Look for truth. Don't even look for Jesus, bruh. I know Jesus is the truth, but if you're really trying to seek truth, go find it. You'll go out there and I promise you it'll lead you right back here. That's what happened to you. If you went out, but the thing is, you were fortunate enough to be like, okay, I'm not trying to follow my feelings. What is the actual truth? What is out there? And once I really go down that path, you'll find your way back to I promise you. We can't account for all the other places where we are seeing actual revival in the world, like apart from other places in the world. We're just in the West. The West is, I mean, it could be a little cooked, like, you know what I'm saying? You know, a little here and there, but nah, the church isn't going nowhere. I think we're due for a revival, and I think that people are doing their best in this Western culture to change what I was just saying before in the previous question, to be honest. I don't think it's going nowhere, and I think that there are more people coming back to authenticity and relationship rather than just organized religion. I think there's more of that today than anything. And I think it's a small number, but I think it's becoming less rare. There's hope, for sure.
I'm Tom. My original name is Moyafu, and I come from Vietnam. So my first day to the US, not gonna lie, I had a lot of feelings. A little bit of confused, a little bit of excited, and mostly scared. Well, confused because this is like the whole new country, whole new city, difference compared to Vietnam, where I came from. A little bit of excited because I don't know if you guys know about the game called GTA. It's like a real world game that kind of simulator the active out here, and it gets set in the US. So when I got here, look at the driveways, the house, everything's like exactly the same in the game, and scared because I had a life back in Vietnam. I left everything over there and moved here. I don't know how it's gonna be. Is it gonna end up good or is it gonna end up real bad? When I first moved here, I got a culture shock. Everybody in Vietnam would stay up until 12 or 1 in the morning. We get used to that. I get used to the thing that I'm gonna be outside the road, going dinner with my girlfriends, and I'm gonna be back home around 11. Over here, it's not like that. I don't know what to do. Everybody get back home around 9 or 10. You guys gonna stay in the house and then went to sleep. Over here, if you guys don't have a car and don't know how to drive a car, you cannot do anything. I'm 21 years old, I'm a young man, and I want to figure out what's outside there in the real world. I want to go travel, but I cannot do anything. I right now just in the morning walk to work, then walk back around 9, then go to sleep. Like I said, I don't have a friend. I'm out here all by myself. It's kind of hard for me to open up and make some new friends because I have too much thing to care about right now. I had to go to work, take care of my parents. That always make me feel like a fish out of water. Turns out, move to America is not so good. So how did I adapt to the new environment? First of all, I told you guys back then I had a culture shock, and I used to have a life going back home around 11 p.m., 11:30. Over here, I don't know what to do with the rest of the night, but I figured it out. I spent time for my family. So when I get back home from work, we're gonna have family meal, sit together, talk together, and we're gonna spend time for each other. And I love it. That's the most precious thing for me. Friends, I believe I'm gonna make new friends. Right now, I'm only going to work, and I already have new friends. Imagine if I go to college, university, I'm gonna make more and more friends. I'm gonna start my new life over here, and I will have a car. That's a certain things. I will learn how to drive a car. Yeah, when I got the car, I can go anywhere that I want. To San Jose, to Monterey, meet up with my friends. It's not a problem. To me, freedom is that you can do the things that gonna make you happy. And the thing gonna makes me happy is I can take care of my parents financially, physically, mentally. And back in Vietnam, I cannot do that. Over here, I can, only working at a restaurant right now, and I can still take care of them. If I go to school, get a stable job, it's not gonna be a problem. So in the future, if it means that I will have a lot of barrier, then I will break through any of that. I know the first few steps gonna be really hard, but I also know that work hard is gonna pay off. That's all I have to learn to adapt new things, new environments around me. Stephen Covey once said, to change ourselves effectively, we first have to change our perceptions. I accept that I left my old life back in Vietnam, but I'm also gonna start my new life over here. It's gonna be even better. To all the immigrants out there who's trying to move here, I know at first it's gonna be really hard. It is. But if you put enough of work, your life's gonna be better after all.
As far back as I can remember, I've always wanted to be an artist. When I first started, I lived in constant fear of not being good enough and being misunderstood. The chaos that clouded my mind and life was when I found myself trapped in a cycle of addiction, fear, lack of self-worth, anger, worry, and self-doubt.
I met Ian maybe over 10 years ago. Ian was attending a program here, and I think one day he saw me in the hallway and he said, "Who cuts your hair?" It was one of my bad haircut days. And at first I was like, that's kind of offensive because typically being a black man, our hair is something that is sensitive in our community. So I was like, I need to call my barber to go get a better haircut. And then I was like, oh, I have a barber. I just had a bad hair day. And he goes, oh, if you're ever looking for a barber, I cut hair. And that's where it started.
I'm Dave Diggs, a barber and the owner of the Barbers Inc. Barbershop.
Interview with an Icon is a landmark my barber colleagues and I developed at Barbers Inc. Barbershop.
I remember vividly the day that we unveiled the mural for Interview with the Icon. Ian and the shop was actually awarded an award from the mayor and city council of San Jose for beautification of downtown San Jose. Anybody that's worked with Ian, that when you grow with Ian and you learn to know Ian, you figure out how just amazing the guy is. And I was unaware at the time of some of the hurdles that he was facing in life. But as we worked together over time, he began to open up, and I was able to meet his mom, who was amazing. And it definitely feels good to know later, even though I didn't know at the time, that I was able to provide something that helped stabilize what he was going through and kind of what he needed at the time.
And it was right about this time that I found my voice. when I met Angela Davis, everyone at the community center that day was up in arms and very excited, and I was thinking to myself, it's something that I can ask, that I can take with me from now on. I was thinking as far as a sense of purpose. In the right place. So that was one thing about today that I wanted to ask about, is understand, getting a better understanding of a sense of purpose. Just want to know what.
Well, see, I think that collective purpose is helps to define our individual lives. So I don't think of myself as ever having accomplished anything or moved in a particular direction alone. It's always with others. Okay?
Thank you.
And thank you so much for your beautiful art. Wow.
I can't really speak on how that was for her, but for me, that was one of the biggest artistic opportunities and moments that I've had in my life. My life and my art being a documentation of the journey along the way, I've arrived at a place of serenity, one day at a time. One of the paintings that is equally, well, they're all meaningful, but one of the paintings that stand out for me is a piece called Resilience, and it's a visual representation of hurt. I found that I'm at my best when I'm not afraid to be myself.
He is a prime example of, I think every life is a light that is born in earth, and oftentimes some people don't know how to handle the magnitude of their light. And I think with him, it is sometimes his light is so bright that even he gets scared behind. When he talks a little bit about his struggle, I always remind him, anytime I talk to him, like, you're the gift, like, you're important. And he's a soft-spoken giant. I think his thing is quiet giant. I definitely think that he has taken the power of his struggle and turned it into something that's so huge. He should be in the African American Museum in DC.
Did it again.
I came to this country at 16, carrying dreams too big to fit in my suitcase. I was undocumented, unsure, and unprepared for the challenges ahead: the language, the discrimination, the invisible lines this country draws to keep you in your place. But I have never been one to stay in a place. There's this force in me, a fire that refuses to believe in limits. Even when I learned the world wanted me to have them, I said no. No to boundaries, no to silence, no to being invisible. At a young age, I knew I loved performing, pretending to be someone else, stepping into stories that weren't mine. Now, I see the irony. My life became a stage where I had to act like I belonged, even when this country told me I didn't. But that fire kept me going. I dreamt, I imagined things that didn't yet exist and pushed until they became real. Sometimes I surprise myself, connecting the dots and witnessing life's miracles unfold. It hasn't always been easy. There are days I sink into darkness, where everything feels heavy. I have learned to sit with it, let it slow me down, let my body and mind rest. Because even in my darkest moment, I know one thing for sure: the sun will rise, and so will I. When I arrived here, I tried to be a good American. For a while, the flag even gave me hope, but now it scares me. It represents a system that tries to numb you, to make you work for it, to make you forget who you are. But I refuse to forget. Creating is my birthright. Dreaming is my rebellion. I think my tias prayed a lot for me and my mother. Maybe that's why I feel lucky. Why I believe the universe is friendly? Even every breath is a chance to begin again, to keep going. The hardest part? Putting your shoes on and showing up. But that's where it starts. Be who you are. Listen to your gut. If something feels wrong in the system, it's because it is. But don't let it dim your spark. Don't let it steal your time, your mind, your essence. Be you. That is your superpower. Everything starts with a breath, and then you move. You keep going.
%60 of all the people are Asian American, and the third largest group in general, not just Asian group, third largest ethnic group is Filipino American too inside this district.
There's a lot of history of the Filipinos that nobody knows.
How do you get to be yourself within these systems? Some of you might know Filipino cultural value of kapwa, seeing oneself in the other, having a shared sense of belonging and togetherness. The first thought that comes to mind when I think about building up Filipino community is my children. It was very intentional that when they grew up that they knew not just about their identity, but the whys. There are pieces of you, fragments of you that you're trying to suture together, but you can't because you don't have a language, you don't have the tools, you don't have ways of speaking about it. I think when people are like, why? Like, why do I want to? Why do I have to? What does it matter? I think there is maybe an immediate rejection there because underneath that, they don't know the value of it yet. And maybe what they mean to say is, I don't understand.
I was born and raised here in what is now Japantown, just about a block and a half away from here.
They grew up in this house in the 1930s, and it is 2024.
My entire life was spent growing up along with my peers of the Filipino kids. You're not interested in taking pictures of the places where you're walking around, where you grew up, where you played. We never paid attention to all of the scenery here, and that one year we would be interested in history. But now, here we are.
It's one of the few surviving Pinoy Town landmarks on 6th Street. This was Pinoy Town. This is where it was poppin'.
We called it Chinatown at the time. And it was before we named this Filipino enclave as Pinoy Town. We had our first tour in 2019, and that was a turning point for me. Maybe through these tours, we can keep the history and memory of the first wave Filipinos.
This was one of 6. There were many Chinatowns in San Jose, one on Vine Street, one on Market Street, but they were mysteriously getting burnt down. Until around the late 1800s, a gentleman, businessman named John Heinlein, who's a German immigrant, said, you know what, I got money, I got privilege, I have power, I'm gonna open this space here, I'm gonna build a fence around it, I'm gonna invite Chinese immigrants to come here, live here, find a way of living and sustaining, following the Chinese, the Japanese, the Filipino Americans, other Asian Americans, immigrants, farm workers, laborers that needed a place to go, that wanted to make sure that they bought their bok choy or their rice, had good food, met each other.
Even though you live in this area, unless you make a deliberate effort or you happen to attend a presentation, you don't know really going on around you, especially for the deeply understanding the ethnic minorities. I myself did not know too much about Heinlein of Chinatown, but once I heard about it and how it affected the Filipinos, I dove into it. Most of those first-wave Filipinos were Ilocano. They came from the Ilocos region in northern Luzon.
Growing up Filipino, I grew up in a Ilocano household. I was always hearing the language, the way they would do things, their mannerisms, traditions of food and music.
People will find their way, even if it's like, not today with me in this class.
I was part of a Philippine youth coalition in high school, and that was like a way for me to connect with other Filipino Americans and hear their story. You know, made me proud for where I come from, who I am. There's a time where I was like 18 years old, and I really wanted to dig into Philippine culture in tattoos.
When we're searching for Filipino American identity, or we're learning about Filipino American anything, these are not phases. When we struggle together, how do we find joy together? When we are falling apart together, how do we build it back up?
I love connecting through tattoo because the different walks of life, where they come from, who they are, what they do. Through tattooing, I'm healing this person at the same time, giving him some sort of connection. It becomes sometimes very personal, and I sometimes make a long-time friend.
How other people can connect with the Filipino community is maybe by first identifying what it is that makes them come alive, connect with the ways in which the Filipino American community might be participating in those kinds of things. But if they're also just kind of like genuinely just like, I want to go check this out.
Cactus J is the organization that puts this whole thing together. And we are actually a coalition of a bunch of organizations.
Allowing people to be drawn by or to follow things that make them feel good. It doesn't feel like it's a box they need to check out of knowledge, or a box they need to check out of something that they've done to be productive in life, right? But just that, like, oh, where are the connections?
If your parents or any one of your parents came from the Philippines, interview them, get their story, make a family tree, bring that closeness and connectivity to the Philippines and other people.
Isang bagsak!
Isang bagsak!
Yay! Thank you!
All right, let's give our filmmakers one more round of applause for all of that amazing work, all of those great documentaries. And now I want to hear from the filmmakers themselves, so we're going to invite them up front for a little Q&A session. I'll ask them a few questions, but then we'll open it up to audience questions. So if you have any, raise your hand, let people with microphones know that you might want to say something. Come on up. Yeah. All right. Welcome, everyone. I want to just start off talking about the process. So for those of you who are unfamiliar, we actually take applications for this program. People apply with their ideas, the stories that they want to tell. And so I'm curious to hear from everyone up here. What was your inspiration for your storytelling, for your film? What brought you to DMM?
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you all. So my initial inspiration was reading the novel. I'm huge into Afrofuturism. So if you read American Sirens by Peter Hazard, that's what the inspiration for my film was. And also being in paramedic school and the EMT, I thought this story needed to be told.
We're going to hear from all of our filmmakers, so let's hold the applause till the end of the Q&A, just for ease. Yeah. Who's up?
I'll go since I have the mic. Hi, everyone. My name is Jennifer, pronouns she, her. My inspiration is really drawn from community and just being able to uplift everyone's voices, especially when some of those voices might be oppressed. So just really uplifting that and empowering everyone and really hearing from everyone so that way we can have our stories told and we can strengthen together.
Yeah, pass the mic.
Hello, my name is Carolina Perez. With my first check, I bought a video camera and I just started documenting everything around me. And then life happens, and then you get jobs, and then you become your least priority. And now I'm 47, so I feel like I have plenty of material to share. And I am very comfortable in my skin now. So I want to share stories.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. My documentary was Paths to Healing. And my inspiration stemmed from using visual media to communicate complex narratives that will impact an audience.
Good evening. My name is Peter. My inspiration really were two students in my adult school education class who visited my office seeking employment. And after interviewing them, I found their stories so compelling that I thought this should be put into a movie. And as it happened, Great TV had an opportunity for me to use this information and make it into a documentary, and here I am.
Hi, everyone.
Yeah, punch the ball so that it's on. It's on now. There you go. That's technology.
Hello? That sounds good. Hi, everyone. I'm Billy. My film is The Pursuit of Resilience. Basically, to tell what's the struggle of being immigrants to America. Like people say, you move to a new country, you have lots of opportunity to grow. But beside that, I want to show you how what struggle we have to face and how my friend actually move on from that. That's actually also my own stories that I want to tell you all. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Peyton. My film was The Living Church, and really what inspired me was moving here to San Jose. I moved here about two weeks before I started this program, and I really love film, and so I just came here looking for programs like this, and yeah, and also looking for a church, and so those kind of just went hand in hand, and yeah.
Hi, my name is Artur Bansky, and I made the film A Quiet Giant, the story of Ian Young. And approximately a year ago, I received a memoir of my uncle. He's 90 years old. It took him 30 years to write it, and and it was 800 pages. Yes. And I didn't think I can read it ever. Yes, so I started. And then for the next 6 days and nights, I was reading it, and I was laughing, crying. It was just amazing story. And then I thought, what I could do to share something like this with other people. Of course, reading 800 pages, especially in Polish, is not easy thing. So I started to think about making movies. And then I met Yvonne Liu, who is here, and she was part of DocuMentorMe 2023. She told me about the program, and that's how I applied. Thank you.
Great. Well, we're glad you're all here and part of the program this year. So our audiences, a lot of them are coming into this at the end when you have a finished product, but we've been seeing your progress over the last 4 months. And there's a lot of ups and downs associated with this kind of filmmaking. Maybe if each of you could go down the line and share what one of your biggest challenges was in making a film like this.
Okay, I guess I continue. So just translating the initial idea to storyboard, that's a challenge. That's a different way of thinking. So that's definitely took me a while. And also at the final stage of making a movie, I switched the editing program from easy one to more ambitious, and that was definitely something what put me to big effort and out of sleep.
I guess I'll go next since I have the microphone again. Well, yeah, okay. Biggest challenge. Like I said, I moved here really recently, and I started this program with an idea of what I wanted to film and what I wanted to say, which changed 1,000,001 times. And it was hard for me to know, well, wait, like, what am I supposed to film? Because I don't know this place at all. I don't have a church to film. I didn't even consider myself like somebody who was a part of the Bay Area. So I was really lost in knowing what to film and where to start and where to go, who to go to. So that was a pretty big challenge for me.
Yeah, so my biggest challenges is to scripting. You know, when you have an idea and you want to put it out on paper, it took lots of time. And actually, the program is like 15 weeks, but it's been like half of that just to have the script it out and you know, make everything work, and then before we're ready to film. And another challenge is to find a character, like somebody who share the same struggle as me. And lucky I found one. He's also my friends. And yeah, I asked him to film, and he say, "Oh, he never act before." He said, and I was like, "That's easy. I'll show you." And yeah, he joined me on this journey, and we made it.
I would say the largest challenge I had was the decision to make it a poetic film, because what you saw had basically little to nothing to do with the Freedom House paramedics. It was just me as a fledgling paramedic, but Zach and E and everybody made me feel really comfortable, doing that way, especially when they showed us, famous examples of other films that what you were watching had nothing to do with. So, yeah, the decision to be a poetic film, yeah.
One of my biggest challenges was figuring out what is the main story I really wanted to tell. Because just like you saw in my film, a lot of the Filipino community's story is also intertwined with other communities around us. So, and there's like a lot of questions that people may have, just like my cohort asking me all these questions that led into all these other factors. But really coming down to the heart of the community and making my film reflect that.
For me, every day, the hardest part is to put my shoes on and show up, like really. I think like when you come to this country and people keep telling you, or the system tell you don't belong here, you can have a lot of anxiety and a lot of doubts about, do I have talent? Do I have something to share? And I'm very lucky. I have my mother, and she's like my biggest inspiration. And when I have doubts, she tells me, "Mija, you know how to do this." So just to transform the little voice inside of you that tells you that you don't know how to do things, or no one likes it, or just fight the dark force inside of me. And I grew up kind of like just waiting and holding and waiting in a corner to do something. And I feel like now it's my superpower because I'm an observer. So I can read people and I can feel their anxiety. So I go to those people and be like, hey, everything's gonna be okay. And just sharing, I feel like the ultimate luxury is to feel comfortable in my own skin. And I want people to be able to share that.
Good evening. My biggest challenge was learning new filmmaking skills, adapting and applying them all under a really tight schedule.
I had two challenges. The first one was learning the technology, and my sons can tell you about that. The first and only films I ever made were in high school, when we were using 8mm film and splicing them together with tape. And then going from there to invisible splicing on the computer. That was kind of a difficult thing to learn. And the other thing that was challenging was, originally when I met Tong and Kun, I was going to make an educational film, which would take at least 20 minutes, in which I was going to demonstrate how acquiring a second language could be accelerated through working on a project. But that was just too long and maybe not too exciting. So in the process of editing, I learned that, we could make a political statement. And that's what I chose to do, and made a 7-minute movie that I thought was meaningful, as well as a little bit exciting, more exciting anyway than watching an educational film.
Personal opinions, I might have liked that, but I like this film a lot too. Awesome. Now that you've heard a little bit from each of our filmmakers and you've seen their work, we're going to open it up to audience questions. If there's anything you want to ask to all the filmmakers or about one film in particular, feel free. And we have a mic going around, so just raise your hand.
Hello. Thank you all for your work. So a lot of the films shared certain themes about leaving one place and searching in a new place for a better life or a healthier community or a more wholesome connection to other people. And that was talked about through the lenses of immigration, organizations, like the church or the barber shop or paramedics. But my question is, some of the later films showed that there can still be issues in those new places that you arrive. So I'm curious to hear your personal opinions about how do you know when a place like a country or an organization or a community is really good or free or better or healthy?
Oh, I think I have heard a lot of stories that I believed. And now, like I said, I can be in any country in the world and I will feel comfortable. I'm global now. I used to have limits, I don't. Yeah.
That's a really great question. I really like that question. I think that for me, in my life, I've lived in maybe a dozen places, and that was by the time I was like 15. So it was really hard for me. And I struggled with feeling accepted in places. And I kind of got to a point where once I kind of accepted myself and found it within myself, it didn't really matter where I was, because it was kind of just like, okay, maybe I don't feel accepted here, maybe I don't feel accepted here, but maybe I just need to accept myself, and wherever I am, I'm gonna make that place my home. And it it felt better over time, like being maybe at a different school or a different church or a different whatever. I felt better even if the environment wasn't necessarily better, because I was accepting of myself and accepting of the fact that I'm not always going to be accepted or feel better everywhere that I go.
Always got something to say. Very good question. Very, very layered. For me in particular, what I can say is that in the medical field, for instance, Dr. Martin Luther King said, injustice is about healthcare, right? And we were fighting that fight in the late '60s. And if you look at the political and medical climate right now, we're still fighting the same fight, right? With $30 billion these companies and insurance companies have. But to make a long answer short, I would say that I'm not fighting the same fight that the Freedom House paramedics were fighting, right? Because they were fighting for access, right? They couldn't go into the OB floor, right? That's a very basic level skill to give birth, right? They wouldn't let those guys go in. They can't say that to me, but I feel like industry, like, having your own clinic, having your own hospital, having your own grocery store, that's what that would look like in my vision, so to answer that.
Yeah, thank you for that question. I know that it doesn't look like I am an immigrant, but I am. Actually, I'm a two-time refugee. And I could tell you from my experience that you never feel assimilated, a total part of the community. So you do the next best thing, right? You retreat and you become a photographer and filmmaker and observe life and interact indirectly with people that way. But personally, as an immigrant, you never feel totally part of the community.
Thank you all for that. Another question from the audience? saw another hand.
Stand up or so since we're all film buffs, what is it that you watching films? What is it that you enjoy most about the art of films, watching them, and then making films? What was it that you most enjoy about making films? So, a viewer and a creator.
So you were talking, you're asking what we like about watching films as well as being able to create. No, I think like the biggest thing I love about watching films is the symbolism behind like each like thing that is intentionally put there. So I think like using that as my interest in films, as I mentioned earlier, there's so many stories I can tell in the main story that I'm trying to tell. But if you have a general idea of like some of the things that I put in my film, there's so much that goes into those little details as well that tells the bigger story. So just being able to tell multiple within one larger story is important to me and what I love.
Hello. Okay. Sorry. I love your questions. I think there's the same perspective from the creator and the viewer when coming to watching film, is that each film will have a different stories, and we love watching film because we love how the story is being told. Like, if you you love a movie not just because there's your favorite actor or actress, it's because they tell the story that may include you in there. You feel related to the film, and I think that's what I love about film. Like, imagine if you have something that is hard to tell to your partner, your friends, you go like, watch this movie together, and you guys all know like what to tell after that, right?
He handed me the mic, so I guess I'm gonna talk. One of my favorite directors, actually probably my favorite director, his name's Luca Guadagnino. And he's like an Italian director, I'm pretty sure. I hope I'm right. But he does this thing in all of his, he has this kind of like signature style in all of his movies that's very like, it makes you feel like you're in the movie. Like, that's the best way I can describe it. Like, it'll be maybe a shot of two people talking and it just pans back to them, and it's so interesting, and I just love seeing that. And so I guess one of my favorite, just like the creativity of each unique artist, where you can tell like, oh, that's something like they do. Like, I've never seen anybody do that. Or maybe, oh, I know all of so-and-so's music's a little bit creepy. Like, maybe it goes on for a super long time. And it's like something almost insignificant, but it's like their signature, if you will. So that's probably my favorite part as a viewer. As a filmmaker, I'd say editing, probably, which is like kind of weird because most filmmakers, I feel like, probably don't like editing all that much. But I just feel like it's nice to see all of your work come together and be like, okay, like this looks how I wanted it to look, or maybe I want to change something else. And you see all that like at the very end when you get to the editing part.
So for me, as a viewer, just watching different movies, and I'm amazed how good the movie directors can show the story, show human complexity. Yes, and one of my favorite movies is Kurosawa movies, Rashomon, when director repeats the same story 5 times. Yes, and it's very different each time. It's just from different perspectives. So this ability of understanding human nature, and that's I think what really makes a movie so exciting. Of course, good story is the key. Yes, and from ability to make it, it's too early to say. I'm just still learning the basic skills just to be able to put things together. But yeah, that's ability to visually say the story is something quite amazing. Yeah.
I would say that I would agree with the rest of my cohort, and like just seeing a new film for the first time, I'm still in love with that. I unlocked a new, thanks to Zach. I mean, you know, during the lesson plan, we watched this film called Koyanskotsky, and that's like, yeah, I know I'm butchering the name potentially, so, but yeah, I definitely like meditate and pray to that like during my quarter and my paramedic, you know. I had my finals or whatever this week, so this is a big week for me. But yeah, watching the new film definitely still gets me. And personally, when just creating, I don't know if anybody's in the medical field here, but I was like cringing, or I was like having a mini seizure over here when I was doing some stuff. Y'all, I don't know if y'all knew, but I didn't take the tourniquet off on some of the stuff. I mean, I'm still learning, but yeah. Creating and telling a story, but this had a deep meaning, and about the Freedom House paramedics. I mean, if y'all want to, go ahead and check it out. You can check it out on a podcast called Criminal. They had a paramedics episode. So yeah, thank you.
Hi. I don't remember the last time I watched a Hollywood movie. I'm not really a fan of Hollywood movies because they're so fantasy-oriented and not believable. But I am an observer, and I have a lot of ideas, and I find that making documentaries is the most efficient way of communicating my ideas, and hopefully through that, educate people in the process instead of putting them to sleep in fantasy land.
My absolute favorite as a viewer is the soundtrack. The soundtrack always invokes feelings of excitement or sadness. A movie could totally make you cry even if you're not a crier. So definitely as a filmmaker was adding a good soundtrack to my film as well.
For me, I really love to feel alive. I love to have feelings and learn stories, and I will never forget when I saw E.T. flying over the moon. So I love feeling, and the other thing, why I share this, or I feel like no one will tell my story the way I can, and the story of my community. And also, I heard this quote for one of my favorite artists, Alejandro Jodorowsky, and he said, "What you don't share, it gets rotten." So it's kind of like I have to, because the later never comes.
Let's take maybe one more question from the audience.
Hi. Congratulations to each one of you, by the way. It takes a lot of bravery to put yourself out there in this way. And so my question is, how, as any aspiring creatives out here, what advice would you give to them, for those of them who have the creative drive, but the fear? How do you get past that? And how did you get past that?
Just do it.
I would say, I want to say thank you to Isaac and Abby, because they have created a very safe space that we can feel vulnerable. And I feel like, be vulnerable, face it. Don't take yourself so serious. And otherwise, you're not gonna do it. And I just wanna say, it took me 30 years to do this move. So I wanna say thank you so much to the DocuMentorMe. Like, this is really a way of healing. So do it, put it out there. There's always gonna be someone that needs to hear your message, or it will get rotten, and you don't want that.
For those aspiring creatives, I would say live outside the box, be an observer, but also understand the details within, and use that as a way of starting to express those ideas.
If you take a look at your pamphlets, if on my page, one of my pages, I wrote, "If they won't tell our story, we will." So like, if there's a story that you haven't heard about, but you feel like it's so important to tell, it's important that we're able to utilize that voice, that nudge that we have inside to actually do it, because either it's gonna get neglected or swept under the rug, and that's not fair to our community. So it's important that we're able to tell those stories. And I always think about like how grateful I am for DocuMentorMe, because like I've been wanting to learn film ever since I was younger. There's a few people like I've met who've done their own projects, and I'm always like, can you teach me something? And like, you know, everyone's busy, but like that has always been like nagging me in the back of my mind, because I always knew that storytelling was something I was bad at, but I wanted to improve on. And like, as you can see, like it takes the tools and it takes the vision, the aspiration that you have within yourself to be able to push that forward. And I would say, even if it's not perfect, just being able to start it is the momentum to be able to have something bigger, because then you never know who's going to join that train, that journey with you to tell that same story.
So I would say one advice that I have is that you must be passionate about making a movie, because in order to have the final product like this, it requires lots of commitment, yapping from our mentor, and yeah, if you don't have passion, you cannot survive those days, and yeah, you may give up along the way. So passion is the key factor to continue this journey.
You want me to go? Yeah. All right. Yeah, I want to echo basically everything the rest of my cohort said. Just finding that support system where you feel safe, you know, finding your initial inspiration, and then, I don't know, you just gravitate towards people, because, you know, me personally, I was just a security, I just worked here as security, and then I met Enrique. I don't know if he's in here, but yeah, I met Enrique. He was like, "Oh yeah, you should apply for this opportunity." I was in the process of reading American Siren and wanting to tell that story. And, you know, everybody here is just, you know, super supportive, and, you know, forever grateful for DMM for that, you know, just being able to tell the story. And yeah, just find your support system, to answer your question. Find like-minded people, and people that's gonna, you know, help nurture you, you know, definitely.
I think remembering like that you probably, this is might sound a little bit harsh, I don't know, but you're not that original in your ideas, most likely. Somebody else has probably had the same exact idea that you've had, or thought the same story or thing, and just didn't do it. And so, but that should kind of bring you a level of comfort, I would say, because when you're telling a story, it can seem intimidating when no one else has, or it feels like no one else has really told it before. But there's more than likely other people wanting to hear that story. And if you decide to let your fear just control you and not say what it is you want to say, then somebody else will. And I think about like when things come out, like I remember when like fidget spinners came out, like my mom was like, dang, like we should have made that. Like we could have made so much money off like a fidget spinner. Like wish I would have done something like that. Or like, I don't know, like I'm sure when hair ties came out, somebody was probably like, dang, like I missed it. Like I could have done that. So you don't want to say like, you know, you wish you could have thought of that or you would have thought of that, but you didn't because you were scared. Because, you know, if you don't tell that story, somebody else will.
Yeah, it is all it's different for everyone, and I was thinking. I realized at a certain time that I collected a lot of great stories, yes, and yeah, would like to share them. And how do you share them? Yes, writing a second language is not that easy, and probably nobody would try to read it. And I try, you know, documentary, see what is going to come up. But the point is, there's a lot of stories to be told, and I certainly have some wonderful stories I would love to say to tell you.
So after all of these months and all of these weeks together, I think a lot of you think of this program as a project, as one standalone project, but I really want you to think of yourselves as creatives and as filmmakers and like hold on to that identity because you did so much work in that space. So if you were to think, maybe as our last question, if you were to think of yourself and describe yourself as a filmmaker in just 2 to 3 words, we could rapid fire. How would you describe yourself?
Work in progress.
No, you got it. I would say 3 words is passionate, excited, and proud.
I would also say passionate, a lifelong learner, and collaborator, because I love working with the community on the stories we tell together.
Uncompromising, passionate educator.
Unapologetic, loving, and honest.
Curious, adaptable, and innovative.
Try to avoid it. I think I would like to see myself as truthful, which is kind of a weird word these days, and I think that's what is important for me.
Afraid. Interested, humble.
Awesome. Let's give our filmmakers another round of applause. And I'm going to ask you all to stay right where you are. And I want to just take a minute to invite Zach and E up to the stage. So you might have heard their names tonight, but Zach and E are the day-to-day instructors of this program. So they are building the curriculum, they're teaching it, they are working tirelessly after hours, nights, weekdays to help the participants really tell the stories that they want to tell. And so I would like you to give them a round of applause for all of their hard work. And I'm going to invite them to say something to the participants because they've been the ones working so closely with them.
I'm also afraid. But yes, thank you guys for joining us tonight to celebrate the incredible work of our DMM filmmakers. You guys are filmmakers now. Over the past 4 months, these talented individuals took on the challenge of learning how to create their very first documentaries. For most of them, this was their first time exploring the filmmaking process. They began with little knowledge but worked tirelessly to produce their own projects.
I'll just echo the sentiment. Every good filmmaker I know hates being on the business end of the camera. But to continue what E was saying, what stood out the most about this cohort was their growth as a cohort, not just as filmmakers, but as people. I've watched these people work together in ways that I would have never anticipated over the last 4 months, and I'm very proud of them for it. I want to congratulate you all on wrapping what I hope is the first of many films. Yeah, no, get in there. Rush me. Thank you for always bringing your best every Saturday. It's not often that an artist gets to call it done, and I know many of you are still far from done with your creative visions and your films going forward, but starting here, you are done with DMM. Congratulations, we're proud of you, and we'll miss you. We're going to call each of you up one by one. We have a little parting gift for you. Let's go back to front. Maggie, you're up first. Now realizing these are in order. Arthur, you're up next. Congratulations. Billy, you're up next. Congratulations. Good? Okay. Garo. Congratulations. I'll take the mic from you. Jen. Congratulations. Peter. Congratulations. Lee. Congratulations. And Peyton. Congratulations.
All right, I'm gonna ask our filmmakers to just come back to the center one more time. It turns out we have not one but 2 birthdays this week. If all of you will just come on over. What? Huh? So we thought it might just be nice to celebrate. You all filled out paperwork. I'm the administrative person on this team, so I'm aware. Peter and Jen, I believe you have birthdays this week. And I'm not going to sing it into the microphone, but I'm pretty sure that everyone is familiar with the Happy Birthday song. So I would like you to help me.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Peter and Jennifer. Happy birthday to you. The cake. Sure. Look at that.
Awesome. So I'll just give you a little rundown for the last portion of our program today. We have some wonderful food and catering out in the hallway. I'm going to ask you all to exit in through these double doors in the front, and then while you're grabbing snacks, we're gonna change over the room. We will stack chairs and we'll bring in some high tops so we can have a more relaxed, comfortable environment. You could talk to our filmmakers and just hang out and celebrate all of their work. So just be patient with us for a minute while we turn over the room and grab some tasty snacks. Thanks, everyone.